Waterfall, the CCW podcast.
Hello and welcome to Waterfall. It's the water saving podcast brought to you by CCW. That's the Consumer Council for Water. Waterfall is all about water. We're about saving water, saving money, protecting the environment and combating climate change. I'm Mike. I'm here with producer Tom. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Karen. Hi, everyone.
And Karen. Hiya, Karen.
Hello, Mike.
Excellent. I can always tell how this episode's going to go by how Karen says hello at the start. She's chipper. Yeah. She is chipper today. So that's good. We have got a great episode coming up because we have got a guest. We've got the boss of the charity, the Royal Life Saving Society, to come on to talk about water, the power of water, drowning, how to not drown, and basically loads of great stuff coming up from Matt. So stay listening. Now, before we get into that, obviously we want to remind people that you can get in touch with the show.
You can indeed by emailing us at podcast@ccwater.org.uk.
Now, if you recall, the last episode, we did put a call out.
We did indeed.
Yeah, Tony V, our fantastic guest from episode 51, I'm guessing at that. And we hadn't heard from Tony in a while. He'd been a regular at keeping in touch. But he didn't let us down.
No, he got in touch and he even sent us a podcast as well, which is particularly fitting.
Not our own podcast.
No, a rival.
So what was that all about?
It was a Peecycling podcast.
Oh, no, not that one again.
This is the gift that keeps on giving, Karen.
The legacy of this term. It was by Scientific American magazine. I think you listened to it, didn't you, Mike?
I did. I checked it out. It was. It's in three. It's bite-size science snippets, like a daily short podcast.
Yeah.
So this is in 3 parts, and actually it was about Cape Cod and some of the issues they've got there with environmental pollution. Not dissimilar from some of the things we see in the UK. And actually Peecycling was one of the solutions because a lot of septic tanks were leaking and causing environmental issues. So actually they're very short, so well worth listening in. So Scientific American, I think it's called Bite Size Science.
We'll put it in the show notes.
We can stick it in the show notes, but well worth listening to. Karen, are you going to be checking that out?
I might do, yes. It sounds interesting. I mean, I think it's always quite insightful to understand how different countries are approaching similar problems to the ones that we've got here, So, we maybe learn 1 or 2 things.
And have you been tempted to adopt Peecycling in your own gardening?
You'll not be surprised to hear that I've been resisting it up until now.
And for those of you who haven't listened to previous episodes, this is about using urine as a fertilizer. Basically cutting out the middleman, so to speak. Yes. But check out that podcast. As Tom says, we'll stick it in the show notes because it's really illuminating, not just from the international perspective, but also they're sort of commercializing it as well, which is worth checking out. Right, so enough of that. I mean, I'm sure this won't be the last time we talk about Peecycling.
No.
Karen's got that look. Please.
It's the Peecycle cycle. It always comes back.
It's just, as I said, the gift that keeps on giving. Right, let's get on with today's show. We've got a brilliant guest on, so let's just bring on the guest.
Enjoying the show? Please consider leaving a 5-star rating on iTunes and Spotify.
So it's great to welcome Matt Croxall, who is Interim Charity Director at the Royal Life Saving Society UK, to Waterfall. So Matt, welcome. Can we just clarify, you're in charge, right? You're the boss.
Yeah, so they say. So I am Interim Charity Director at Royal Life Saving Society. So I head up the charity team, essentially. The Royal Life Saving Society is a bit of an unusual organisation in that it has a commercial element to it as well. So we have a shop, we sell our qualifications, teaching those guys to be lifeguards out there all around the country and on the beach, etc. But the part that I head up is the charity, which is all about water safety.
So already we're going off on a tangent. So, So back in the day, I did my bronze medallion a couple of times and worked as a lifeguard. So that was that through the Royal Life?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, there you go. So when you had your pajamas on and you were diving down to the bottom of the pool picking up a brick, then that was via the Royal Life Saving Society.
Well, there you go. We did a good job. I rescued someone once, actually, an actual rescue.
Oh, wow.
And it was the most incompetent rescue ever. But the person survived and I survived, so there you go. Anyway, look, so that's really helpful actually to just understand a bit about the Royal Life Saving Society. It's one of these societies that I think is lodged in people's minds as one of these organisations that's been around for like donkey's years. Is that right? When were you founded?
Yes, 1891 was when we were founded. Our founder, William Henry, and many of those principles still hold true today. It is about sort of saving the life of anyone in danger, whoever your fellow man or woman is. And we still teach some of the skills, albeit with some modifications, as you can imagine. But the basic principles of life-saving hold firm and have done all that time. And obviously we have our kind of royal charter, so we are recognised as being supported by the royal family in that way as well.
Karen, I feel like you need to come in here with your own little life-saving story.
I wish I had one, but unfortunately I don't. But it's really interesting to hear that obviously over time the organisation and the campaigning has had to evolve. Perhaps you could say a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, I mean, at the moment we are just moving into our flagship campaign that happens every year around this time, which is Drowning Prevention Week, and that runs from the 15th to the 22nd of June during 2024, but it's always around this time in June. And we've been going with this campaign for 10 years or so now, and you're right, it's evolved. The society evolves over time anyway, but Drowning Prevention Week in particular, I guess we are in a completely different place to where we were when that campaign started, in terms of our use of social media, in terms of influencers that we get on board in order to spread our messages. You know, there are worrying stats around drowning, and child drownings in particular, during recent years. So over the 5-year period, we've had twice as many child drownings during that period of time. From where we were in 2019 2020, we had, I think, 21 drownings. We're up in the 40s now. So that's, again, we kind of adapt the angle and our approach, and our messages this year in particular are very much around getting into schools, getting into the communities, and making sure that families know how to keep themselves and their children safe.
You were saying the numbers have gone up for child drownings. Do you think there's a link there with climate change? So we get hotter, more extreme weather events. It means people go, do you know what? I want to go out into the countryside. I can enjoy the countryside. Oh, look, here's a lake or a river or a reservoir. I'll just dive in. Or am I oversimplifying it?
There's a number of contributing factors, I would say, to that. But absolutely, you're right. We're doing some work alongside the Met Office at the moment and as you say, it feels like common sense that the hotter the weather is, the more likely people are to be out there accessing open water. But we kind of wanted the stats to prove that, and that is absolutely the case. And the more hot weather or extreme hot weather events we have, so when there is a heat wave, then absolutely we see that number of drownings unfortunately go up. I mean, there are a number of contributing factors to that. There's a growth in people just accessing open water for open water swimming, paddleboarding, that kind of thing. Unfortunately, sometimes that doesn't necessarily happen in those supervised, life-guarded areas. So that, again, is what the Drowning Prevention Week campaign is all about, trying to get across the water safety code and those simple rules to follow to keep yourself and your family safe.
I mean, I think it's interesting, you know, the point you make about people beginning to value their local water bodies, you know, much more these days, in terms of wanting to sort of get out and access them in the natural environment. It's quite a difficult balancing act, isn't it, to, you know, encourage people to value getting out into the environment and, you know, appreciating water in that environment, but at the same time staying safe.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the main strapline, if you like, of the Royal Life Saving Society is about enjoy water safely. So we're certainly not going to try and put people off about getting out there and exploring exploring open water. We know the benefits physically, mentally, socially of open water swimming. You know, it's a massive growth pastime. And we want to encourage that. But it is all about trying to make sure that you are safe and following some rules to do so. And there are real issues around cold water shock in particular when it comes to that open water swimming and swimming at the coast. So, you know, one key bit of advice would be, if people do go out and access open water, to immerse themselves slowly to protect against that, and to take your time acclimatizing to the water, because that differential between the hot air temperature or warmer air temperature during the summer months and the freezing cold water can literally take people's breath away. So that bit about immerse yourself slowly, take your time, and very much, as I've said, we're about encouraging people to, if they're going to do open water swimming or swimming at the coast, do so in a lifeguarded area where, if the worst happens and an accident should befall someone, then there is the correct procedures in place to rescue them.
Forgive my ignorance. So you referred to the water safety code, I think was the right phrase you used. I couldn't tell you what's in the water safety code. Can you just give us some highlights to educate us, please?
Yeah. So there's 4 key bits to the water safety code, and people can look these up on our website by all means at rlss.org.uk. So it's about stop and think. So that's about kind of almost doing a bit of a risk assessment of the bit of water that you're going into. And, you know, actually, part of that might be that entering the water slowly, but some of it might be assessing the kind of risk, the hidden dangers. It's very, very different to going into open water than it is to where most of us learnt to swim, in a nice, warm, enclosed inside pool and very calm. So, you know, you really do have to check out the dangers. So stop and think. Stay together is part 2, and that's about not going out on your own and letting somebody know where you're going out to. Hopefully you'll have somebody on the beach or on the riverbank, or at least that there is somebody aware and can look after you. Call 999 is the third part, and the main message there is around making sure that the experts are involved. Should you either witness something or you hear of an accident taking place, it's about calling 999 and not trying to follow somebody in that's in trouble, because unfortunately, year after year, we hear of cases of people going in to rescue others that they themselves then get into trouble, or even rescuing pets, and they again fall foul of the water themselves. So it's about call 999, get the experts involved. And then finally, it's float. And that is, if you yourself are in trouble, then it's kind of assuming that starfish position, if you like, and kind of lying on your back, trying to remain as calm as you can and conserving energy, trying not to panic. And then that buys valuable seconds and minutes to enable the experts to come and help you.
There you go. That's good stuff there. Do you think it's realistic that people would only swim where there's a lifeguard, given the nature of particularly teenagers? I mean, I was just thinking when I was a kid, where we'd go, we'd swim by a weir and just dive in. I mean, I'm sorry, we didn't stop and think. We did stay together. We only called 999 as pranks, and we got in trouble for that. So I'm useless pretty much in terms of your water safety code. But there's super serious point that about. Actually, is that realistic?
I think you're probably absolutely right. And as much as we can try and encourage people to access water at lifeguarded areas or at organised lakes where they practice organised open water swimming, fact of the matter is that people will seek out often just their nearest bit of water, particularly in hot weather. And I think that's probably why the message of the code is to at least ground people in the knowledge of what they should do if they get into trouble, or indeed if they see someone else in trouble, wherever that is. You know, we're always going to encourage people, even if they go to their nearest river or lake, to try and do so where there might be some water safety equipment on the bank. And, you know, again, if the worst happens, then there are measures in place. But you're absolutely right. And you're right to refer to, you know, when we were lads, teenagers in particular, we would think that we were absolutely immortal and nothing could have any danger to us. And unfortunately, that's still the case. Young lads in particular are a real, I guess, target market for our water safety campaign. And unfortunately, as we're talking now, only a couple of weeks ago, we had a couple of young lads, 13 and 14-year-olds, die up in Northumberland doing just that, using a rope swing in a secluded area, and there wasn't help available. So Royal Life Saving Society and the Drowning Prevention Week campaign in particular, I guess, is just trying to arm people with the knowledge as much as possible so they know what to do in any danger.
You mentioned earlier that you collaborate with influencers and other organisations. I suppose that's a good way of reaching out to people that aren't necessarily going to be listening to the Society's message as such.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And so 2 parts of that. We're a key member of the National Water Safety Forum. So that means that we work very closely with organisations like the Coast Guard, Royal Society for the Prevention of Accidents, RNLI, Police, Fire and Rescue. So we have a coordinated approach to this as well. And the main kind of strap line for the National Water Safety Forum is about respect the water. And so we're all coming at it from slightly different angles in the way our expertise is maybe slightly different. But we are absolutely working together to make sure that if one of us can't get into a community, then there will be a route in. When it comes to reaching those harder to reach communities, and particularly, I guess, those target markets like we were talking about, young lads and young children in particular, we do a lot of work with schools, as you can imagine. So we have a whole load of resources aimed at all different types of ages, whether it be primary and secondary, that are appropriate for that age. We have a Water Smart Schools program as well. So whereas we might, with some schools, just go in and give a kind of general water safety presentation, if you like, around assembly and what to look out for, the Water Smart Schools program is more of a prolonged and longer term, almost partnership with a school, where they become accredited as a water smart school. So just as a school might potentially sign up to be recognised as being ecologically friendly and being a green school, then they can sign up and be accredited to be water smart. And that means that throughout the year, a number of different opportunities to get across those messages to those young kids will take place. And we think that that's a really good way of embedding that message out there. Of course, one way of getting direct into school, or one benefit of going direct into schools as well, is that we are capturing some of those children that simply don't have the opportunity to go out to learn to swim, for instance. You know, swimming lessons are expensive, let's face it, and not always accessible for everyone. And certainly the same with our life-saving clubs that are dotted all around the country. You know, not everyone is able to access their local leisure centre to go and take part in these things. So we're really conscious that we want to be as inclusive as possible, and sort of reaching out to those harder to reach communities is absolutely what we're looking to do as the society.
During COVID, lots of people had their swimming lessons cancelled, lots of children. Are you seeing a knock-on impact in terms of water safety if you've got a cohort of kids who are just coming through now? Because my youngest daughter, who is 8, her lessons at that crucial time were cancelled, and she is the weakest swimmer out of my 3 kids by a long way, and it's down to that. I was just wondering if you've seen any signs of that more widespread. I know I might be just stretching an anecdote too much.
No, I think it's a real concern for us, and potentially that is one of the contributing factors to why we're seeing more children get themselves into trouble in some way. I mean, we have additional problems around leisure centres that are closing, and you know, council funds are restricted sometimes, and we are losing those opportunities for people, young people in particular, but actually anyone, to learn to swim. That said, as I said earlier, swimming is just one part, and of course it will stand you in good stead for if you are out in the water and find yourself in trouble or see somebody else in trouble. But certainly learning to swim is not the be all and end all. And I think we've looked back at the kind of the amount of teenage drownings that have taken place in the last 5 years. Around 73%, I think it is, of those kids that drowned accidentally in that situation were described by their friends or by their family as swimmers or good swimmers. So, you know, these accidents take place regardless. And again, over as I'm speaking now, over the last couple of days, we've unfortunately heard of a young lady from Cardiff who's drowned overseas in Florida, and was a member of the rowing team and was a strong swimmer, but got herself into trouble, or she found herself in trouble and unfortunately drowned. So swimming is absolutely a benefit for so many different reasons. But the beauty of what we're trying to get across with the water safety code is actually you don't need to know how to swim. If you see someone in trouble, you can do something to help.
Yeah, no, that's very clear. Do you try and link up any sort of wider water messages? So Waterfall, we talk about saving water, we talk about valuing water as well. So appreciating where it's come from and the fact that there is water scarcity in many parts of England and Wales. So yeah, do you do any of that kind of overlap with the sort of wider water messages, wider water saving messages?
I suppose it's limited because we're experts in our field when it comes to the water safety messages. But I guess where we do kind of cross over into that space a bit is certainly around the Respect the Water campaign and treating water responsibly as a whole. We, of course, as a society also have charitable aims around sustainability, and part of that is, there's a commitment for us to become a carbon neutral charity over the next few years. But there's aspects of water, single-use plastic, when we're talking about use actually in the office with all our staff as well. That we have a particular concern and interest in the issue around microplastics going out into open water and the coast as well. So we try and play a bit of a part in all of those. Largely that may well be through some of our partnerships. So we've got a very close link with an organisation called Surface Against Sewage, which you may well have come across.
They've been on a podcast.
There you go. So, I mean, a fantastic organisation, again, with a lot of sort of shared aims and ethos around the same work that we do. So some really great partnership work going on with them. So often, if we don't have a direct impact into some areas of the wider water conversation, then we are working with charities and organisations that do.
No, that makes sense. And I really like the Respect the Water strapline actually, because it's quite it's very broad. And it can mean lots of things to lots of people, which actually isn't a bad thing, because I do think that actually would be really helpful if people did respect water in all senses of the word. And that going right back to appreciating the beauty of it, appreciating what it provides us in terms of for nature and for humans, but also respecting in terms of it's powerful, it's dangerous, it can give life and end life. I mean, what water is such a fabulous yet powerful thing, So yeah, no, respect the water. Really, really like that.
We live on an island, don't we? And so water is everywhere when it comes to us using that for leisure purposes. What I would say is it's not just around the coast, and I think this is probably a preconception around drowning sometimes, is that people are aware of the issues potentially around tide and current, and I think people probably that are visiting the coast on holiday are more likely to access beaches where there are lifeguards available. But more than half of the fatalities that we hear about through drowning happen in inland waterways, and that might be lakes, rivers, canals, quarries, all that kind of thing. So, as I say, we're an island, but we have a lot of inland water as well. So water is everywhere, and I think you're right that kind of approach of being responsible and respectful around water is a really key message.
What would you like Waterfall to cover next? Send your water-saving topics to podcast@ccwater.org.uk.
I think those two aspects of being responsible and also being respectful are a theme that comes through in a lot of the conversations we have on the podcast, because we do perhaps take certainly our water supplies for granted. And there is a lot more that we could all do to use it more responsibly at home and at work, but importantly to really value it for what it provides us. And as you've said, It's a wonderful natural resource. It supports nature and wildlife, and it allows us to live our lives, So it's such an important aspect of what we do as individuals and collectively.
So Matt, if a listener was wanting to find out more about the Royal Lifesaving Society, what could they do to get involved and engage with you further?
Well, I'd encourage anyone to visit our website. So that's rlss.org.uk. During the summer water safety advice will be plastered across the website, as you can imagine. And if people want to know how to kind of access resources, whether it be for themselves as a family or for their school and the local community, it's really easy to navigate around looking at those basically, there's a tab that is water safety advice and follow it that way. And I think with the Drowning Prevention Week campaign in particular, again, there is a page around that and how people can interact with the campaign. We'd like as many people as possible to share our messages, whether that be through social media or, again, kind of taking part in, there's a whole load of activities. There's colouring sheet activities. There's information about how to get involved with your local life-saving club as well. So we have 260 odd life-saving clubs dotted around the UK that if people want to learn those skills, or if they're interested in potentially taking up lifeguarding as a hobby or career, then that's the way to look into it. So first point of call is our website. If people want to give us a bell after that and discuss things further, then they'll find all the information there as well.
Brilliant. I want to wade in again, because honestly, as a kid doing the bronze medallion, and then that opened doors. I was a lifeguard in America for 3 summers. Fantastic, great experience doing that. Obviously that prepares you, it gives you lots of other skills as well, from doing that. So I would thoroughly, if people are interested, whether for themselves or their kids or their friends, do get involved and because it is brilliant. Honestly, that was one of the best things. I only did it because my friend next door was doing it. But that's the way things work, right?
I mean, that's really nice to hear, and I think you're right that you learn these life-saving skills, and for some people that can become a job at their local leisure centre or at the beach, and that's fantastic, and what a great thing to have on your CV. But there's so many soft skills that you get from being a lifeguard as well, and for a young person to kind of get that maybe first taste of some real responsibility, being part of a team, it doesn't hurt that you're on a beach sometimes as well, or that you're you're in very cool looking kit and all that kind of thing. It's very attractive for a lot of young people. But absolutely, I mean, we have so many members at the society that have been in life-saving for years and indeed decades that are still members, and they will go on and run our clubs. They will be volunteers out in the community running our branches. Their first taste of it was through being a lifeguard, and it set them up, and people get a career with the forces, with the emergency services, based on the kind of initial skills that they got through that route.
We wish you all the best with Drowning Prevention Week, and we at CCW do what we can to promote and help get those messages out there. But you're not getting off the hook, because we have the key question that Karen tends to ask.
Yes, I'm afraid I always draw the short straw here. We ask all our guests how much water they use in terms of litres per person per day. Are you aware of how much water your household uses?
This was really thought-provoking, and I can kind of give 2 answers. So I went online and did a calculator, because I must admit I wasn't aware, and actually that's partly what made me think. When I kind of looked for myself as an individual, it panned out at about, I think it was 126 litres per week, which felt roughly average. And I try and be conscious around water. I live with 2 teenagers, so that adds a significant amount to when we looked at it as a household. And I think when it broke down there, it went up to sort of 170, 180 litres. So particularly a young son that spends far too much time in the shower for my life. So yeah, I guess kind of take your pick out of those answers.
We'll stick with the 126, I think, giving you the benefit of the doubt and not inflict the teenagers' profligate water use on you. Yeah, I mean, the average is, 146 litres per day, Karen?
Yeah, about that, yes.
So yeah, below the average, which makes sense for someone who's watching out for it. Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Really enjoyed it. So before you go, Matt, we need to just quickly test Karen. So Karen, what are the 4 key elements of the Water Safety Code?
Oh, goodness gracious.
Karen?
Well, the first one is to be aware.
Stop and think.
And then the second one was, oh, blimey, what was the second one? The second one was to immerse yourself gently.
I'm not sure what you were doing at this point of the podcast. Stay together, I think, was number 2. Is that right, Matt? Sorry, you.
Then the third one was stay together, I thought.
No, I think the third one was called 999.
I'm just getting them in the wrong order. If you've immersed yourself in gently, you don't need to call 999, do you?
The fourth one was float.
That's the last one was float.
Conserve energy. Karen, I think you should just stay away from water.
Oh, from water, yes. Absolutely.
That's what I've learned. Matt, have I just butchered your water safety code?
No, you got it right. And I think, Karen, I probably confused things by going into more detail than was necessary on each stage. So I think that the immerse yourself slowly came as part of that stop and think message at the start and kind of that risk assessment. So stop and think, stay together, call 999, float.
It will be with me for life now.
Yeah, well, no, that's great. That's really good. And actually, I do like the fact they are simple and they're not patronising. And I think that's really important because people will just switch off. So I do think that they are punchy, not patronising, and something I think we should all be trying to commit to memory, Karen. But Matt, thank you so much for coming on Waterfall. It's been great having you on.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
The human body is roughly 60% water. This podcast is 100.